thank you to the Community Comprehensive team. They went out to all the treaty days and we did the docmocracy with our community members. So that docmocracy is when they had all the different ideas that were on the board during treaty days, and then everybody had different colored stickers to put on identifying what issues were important to you, what was important to you, what you wanted us to work on as a band. Within all the 6 communities with Lac La Ronge Indian Band, the overarching, the number one issue that was identified was community safety. So people want to feel safe. So that was the number one issue that was identified was the addictions, the drugs, the gangs in the community, and and the community wanted us to address that. So one of the things that we're doing, and then one of the things that we've been able to accomplish, is securing funding for the Wellness Treatment and Recovery Center, and that project is well underway. So that capital project will be complete by December 2021, and the doors will open in 2022. So it's a 24-bed inpatient treatment center and so an outpatient treatment center, but as part of that, it's located in La Ronge, but also part of that is having the mini healing lodges in all 6 communities. So the mini healing lodges are part of the aftercare program, because one component is the inpatient and outpatient, but also the aftercare is just as important, and also community engagement. So making sure that the whole community is part of somebody's healing journey, that person, whoever that decides, and when then they decide to go to treatment, and then the aftercare, and then it's part of us as community members to help that person with their healing journey. So there was top priority areas that community members wanted us to address, and that was one of the ones is community safety, and that's something that we'll focus on. And from there, there's been so many other interviews that have taken place. They've talked to community members all within our 6 communities. So thank you so much to each and every one of you for doing your part and giving us your vision, your mission, your goals and objectives, and how you want us to move forward as a community and what you want us to work on. So ginanas komitanan, ikaspyuta pa muhti tsika pa mgawichi himochik kiwante dihtamanta toskata mahiego mamachi inte dihta haiga osminuhti sigistsigatsit no with a michit mistahimini huin machigi go minota drugs kitsikatigi tahots machimaskihia igottoahani inte dihta hotsit no tawichi ha ho ogota igota machimushi ho kitanso matagisi wichi hisochik igostmino hota gangs yegonimina jätti vaan pähtämäänkin teko mihtsit, että sit noag jätti vaan tema higotsik ja huhutta ja matsigi go eta hot mini huin maskihia go sisigi go evente dihta hogita wichi ha hogitit ni minnoag dan sumategi wichi isotsik so mutta kuusihta midoja enniga migota msteisaga hegani Wellness Treatment Recovery Center yegonnigiski dihtinan mudaga doita wichi go magamihsit at sit no I got at the PWT so I got outpatients mini got hast you got to the mini healing lodges got the papia that the hospital got say the homanagati when he is kana mana michi te pio big he go ya you got the papia tagi de mo en gi wa patino go iski dihtino papia tag oye como si se dismamtoni dihta yegonin mini healing lodges. You got the families and they which is so part of the mini healing lodges is it's off grid, so there'll be like a trap line setting. Well, there'll be a living room, a kitchen, bedroom, and then there'll be support provided to families there. So as part of our upbringing, growing up on the land, exercising our treaty and inherent rights, it's something that we need to continue to pass on. So we thank you for your input. We thank each and every one of you for giving us that direction for the community comprehensive base planning, and we thank our team that has worked tirelessly. We thank everyone for all your input, and we thank you for your continued guidance and your support. Thank you.
Tansi, Executive Director Tagisoano ta Lac La Ronge Indian Band. Igo hapisiso minuti at sumustata kuta. Apiego ma atuskiwin gagi piatos katamak. community development planning is rikatio. Iguahaya. Nagagadasi monwidi. I've been with the Ronge Indian Band for over 40 years. So we're very proud of all the changes and all the accomplishments that we've had in the last 40 years because they've been very significant, so many changes so fast. Every 3 to 5 years we do strategic planning. The leadership, the chief and council, and the program directors are involved in this planning. And usually we try and include community members in the planning, but we don't do the community planning quite as regularly. In fact, the last time we did community planning was in 2006, so it was time to do another one. So I had been speaking with the federal government when I realized that they had some funding for comprehensive community planning. And I first applied for the funding in 2016. Finally, in late 2018, we received confirmation of funding. So we immediately advertised the positions. We had 2 positions for navigators. So there was one hired right after Christmas in January 2018. Leonard Roberts was our community navigator, and he was responsible for working with La Ronge, Sucker River, Hall Lake, and Little Red. And the other navigator, Cora Ballantyne, was working with Stanley Mission and Grandmother's Bay. So since that time, they've done a lot of work. They've been out to every community many times. You've seen them out there. And especially in treaty days, before the pandemic, there was a lot of gathering, a lot of community meetings, and there were very good input and suggestions from the community as to what they thought the priorities were for the Ronge Indian Band, the leadership and the program directors. We receive our funding, of course, from Indigenous Services Canada for all our program delivery. For income assistance, we call it now. It used to be called social development or welfare at one time. We receive money for housing, for health, for education, for lands, for administration. And usually we have requirements that we have to follow in terms of where we can spend the money. Most recently though, about 2 years ago, we went into a new funding agreement with Indigenous Services Canada. It's called block funding. Under that new funding, it only applies for certain bands, not all the bands. But with that, we have a lot more flexibility within our programming, and we're able to allocate the resources where we need them. So they don't necessarily have to be allocated to programs that there might be some areas where there might be different priorities. And that's where a lot of the planning comes in. It helps us to set our goals. Each year we have work plans, and then each department has from those community goals, the work plans are developed. So for example, in strategic planning that we did for the band, and that was a plan from 2019 to 2023. We're falling behind on this plan because of the pandemic. We've had the pandemic now for almost 2 years, well, 1.5 years. And so we haven't been able to have community meetings and work on some of the priorities that we had hoped to have. But the goals at that time there were 5 of them. And the first one was, of course, to enhance our language and culture. The second one was to enhance the physical, social, mental, and spiritual well-being of all members. The third one was to enhance the existing housing conditions and to increase homes. So we should be building more homes. And the fourth goal was to enhance educational programs and services for the children and youth. And then the fifth goal was to enhance members' independence and life skills. So to try and assist band members so they can help themselves and not depend so much on the band. So those were the strategic goals that came from the departments working with the boards and committees and with chief and council. So when we went out and did the community goals, and Leonard was out there and Cora, and they talked to the community members, and they had all kinds of activities to get feedback from the community. The most important thing that we heard from the community is that they want safety in their communities. So, for example, the community-wide priorities, the one that every community, Little Red, Stanley Mission, Grandmother's Bay, Sucker River, and Hall Lake saw as the #1 priority was to remove the drug dealers from our communities. Another one that was very important, especially to Little Red, Grandmother's Bay, and Hall Lake, was to increase the presence of the RCMP in those communities. And it only goes to show, because we do not have RCMP, we don't have any offices of the RCMP in those communities, in Grandmother's Bay, Hall Lake, and Little Red. And so that's a priority for Chief and Council, and for myself as Executive Director. Those two things we have to work on with the community's help, removing drug dealers and trying to ensure that we have better RCMP services in those communities. There's other things that all have to do with safety that came from the communities. Hall Lake would like to see us establish a drug and alcohol bylaw. All the communities said they wanted us to address crime and violence and theft in the communities. So those are the main things that came out of the community, and we have lots of work to do, and we will continue working on it. That was the reason for the comprehensive community planning. It was to hear from the communities as to what they thought. We tried to see if we could match what we thought was important as administrators and leadership to what the community's thoughts were. When we received the funding in 2018, the way we usually organize in the band is we have committees that assist us to do the work. And so we had an advisory committee that worked with, that we worked with, the navigators worked with. And the advisory committee members, I was the chair for that committee, and then the co-chair was Gordon Hardlot from Stanley Mission. Our elder was Abel Charles. And then prior to 2020, prior to the last election, we had Councillor Kenny Ratt from Sucker River, Councillor Angus Morasti from Little Red, Councillor Larry Charles from Stanley Mission. And then after 2020, after the new election, the members that we've had on there now are Councillor Ann Ratt, Councillor Mike Bird, Councillor Jimmy Charles from Stanley Mission, Councillor Gerald McKenzie from Grandmother's Bay, Councillor Devin Bernatches from Sucker River, Councillor Norman Ross from Hall Lake, and Councillor John Halkett from Little Red. So I'd like to take this opportunity to thank those committee members. We met almost every month since the project started until COVID. And so you will see them on this video. They will be sharing some of their community's wishes with you on the video. And we're very excited about this video project. In fact, we're so excited that we have so many programs that under the Ronge Indian Band that are very successful, and they're very worthwhile sharing with the community. And I think this is just the beginning of some video projects. I'd like to thank Leonard Roberts, our community navigator, and also Sunny for helping us to make this video. And hopefully it's the beginning of some new video that we can share with community on our health programs and education programs. We have so many good things going on, and we should always be sharing the good things that are going on in the band. So when you see the video, the pictures of our communities, it makes us appreciate where we live and the beauty of our lands here.